Welcome to Wellness Radio with Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher as your host. Her show discusses topics of health, wellness, and spirituality, and is about discovering your place in this great universe from your cells to the cosmos. Along with her guests, in casual conversation, she strives to ask the difficult questions that may be holding you back from a vibrant life, and shares new ideas that may inspire you to make a change in your life that you only can see in your dreams. And now, here is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Radio. This is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher, and it's a pleasure to have you with us here this evening. Tonight, we are going to be talking about our journeys. How difficult has our path been? How many accumulating experiences do we need to be able to shape-shift, walk through a door, see something differently? Perhaps many of us have so many boxes on the shelves, so many trinkets and tchotchkes, so many photos and memories that we kind of keep to the back. We keep as our secret stash, and we never let it out to give it the breath of life. Who wants to share all of those experiences they've had in their lifetime to perhaps say, oh, I need to put it out there in all of its guts and glory and see what it's all about. Touch it, feel it, say it, give it life, give it a purpose, and see if it's actually true, valid, and my current reality. Isn't that something that we're really looking for in these days? Is to say, how can I let go, bring forth whatever's inside of me to be able to move forward on a clear, concise, soul and spirit-driven path? That's where we are now in the year 2023, and we're looking at ourselves and saying, I know in my mind, in my thoughts, how this is supposed to be. I just haven't been able to activate it yet. Today, my guest is Arielle Spring. Her book is When Birds Sing, My Journey from Trauma to Triumph. This is an absolutely wonderful book, and it really, Arielle has taken every one of her experiences and laid it out. The good, the bad, the ugly, the absolute defeatist, but also, too, to say it's words on a piece of paper. It's an experience I went through. It is not something that knocks me down every single day. It's not something that I replay in my present life, and it's not something that has control over the who I am from the inside out. And that's really what we'll be talking about today is, what are your stories all about? What are your secrets all about? And are you willing to jump overboard and absolutely say, let's get these suckers out once and for all and be done with it so we can move forward. Arielle, thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to have you with us.
It's an honor to be with you, Dr. Jeanette, and that was so beautifully put. What you just said, it brought tears to my eyes.
I'm so glad to have you, Arielle, and thank you for that, because I think sometimes people will say, I will not put it down on paper because someone else will ... They will chastise me. They will shame me. They will guilt me. They will come after me. They will whatever. And I think once you jump off that boat, you're like, all bars gone. It doesn't matter anymore. I need to do this. Is that what you really were thinking when you wrote the book?
Probably not until the end. But now I can see that I definitely did jump off the high dive. It was so difficult to get it all down, Dr. Jeanette. I had a lot of trouble getting it chronologically put together.
Yeah.
But
don't you think also, too, it's hard to write down exactly what you're feeling with today's eyes? You know, sometimes, I think in your book, you really were very explicit about the experiences you had in life. So you kind of had to step back there versus looking at it from today and kind of, you know, as we say, sugarcoat it, or, oh, don't put in the really bad stuff because we don't want people to judge us. But you kind of like said, forget it. I'm writing it all down, right?
Yes, my mother always used to tell me, honey, you're too honest. So this is where it really came in handy for me, Dr. Jeanette. I did just put it all down and was kind of shocked after I saw it on paper. But that's the kind of book I wanted to write.
You know, it's absolutely awesome that you were able to do that, because I know for myself, people would always say to me, oh, it's probably been about 4 decades now, people would say, where's your book? Did you write your book? And I'm like, no, not yet. And it's, you know, because I just didn't feel or wasn't able to do exactly what you've done, sit there and write all those stories. So I really think it came from the heart and it was necessary for you. Do you think?
Absolutely. I was attending the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in 2016, and when we graduated in 17, they said to us, you know, if you want to be a success at all as a health coach, you're going to have to write a book. It's just necessary in this climate. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not writing a cookbook. I know that.
Right, yeah.
So at that point, I said, well, you know, what do I have to offer? And I said, I have to offer helping women who have gone through trauma, because that was my story. And that's when I began writing.
You know, it's absolutely essential that women write their stories, because I think men can write their stories also. However, there's quite a few men that aren't ready to do that yet because they can't be that honest. But women, I think, sometimes are being the forerunners, so to speak, and writing their stories now and saying, I'm looking at this from my point of view, and you are the players that came along my path. Because sometimes people will write their story, but they'll forget about writing who was with them at the time, how it went down, what was really going on. And you really shared very engaging stories, you know, that you could follow along with the characters in your book. And there are many. And what's so important, I think, is that you wrote it so that we could feel as if we are in it. That's so vitally important. Do you think that was a little hard to write, but maybe once you got started, you were going on a roll, right?
I've been told it's my style. Since this is my first book, I didn't know that. And so thank you for that amazing feedback, Dr. Jeanette. That means the world to me. I want to be able to grab the reader and bring them where I was.
Yes. Yeah, and I thought that was so cool because, like I said, sometimes people, when they say, you know, or editors or whatever, people will say, but I want to hear your story, just meaning just you. But you told what the other person was doing or going through or what was going on. And Arielle, let's just jump right into it. I mean, truly, you know, you say that it's a darkness to whole. And I wrote down it's from human to soul spirit, or from pain to healing. And those are some of the ideas that you've really shown in your book is, wow, I've had decades of, what the heck did I get into? And sometimes we go, was that really me? Do you think you maybe, when you started out in the beginning, your life really started out with these experiences at a very young age?
Yes, I do. You know, experiencing the sexual assault when I was a naive small-town girl at just 16, barely been on a couple of dates, and then the multiple sexual assault on a date.
Right.
That was the perfect storm since it went untreated. Since I vaulted it, it went untreated until I met my ex-husband, who I suffered the abuse from for 4 years.
Do you think, could we go back there for a second, Arielle? Because when you start writing in your book, every single chapter is all of your abuses, outlines all the characters, what happened, at the time and what happened after it. But I want to go back to there because if you look at the decade of life you were living in, was that the 50s, 60s, or 70s? Because if you look back at that, I distinctly remember myself from the abuse. It was in the 70s. And that was very common if you remember the age of the hippies, the age of the free love, the age of, let's get out there and defy whatever systems that are out there. So was that around that time?
Yes, it was. Yeah. Definitely at that time.
Yeah, so do you think that perhaps you were just a figment of the society at that time? In other words, you and I and many other women were kind of, we're not saying that all women have these experiences. However, we're saying that many did. Perhaps?
It's funny, Dr. Jeanette, because some women from my high school class have said to me, I love your book, but I'm stuck because it's bringing up something for me, and I can't continue to read. And so that's happened multiple times now.
Yeah.
So I feel like what you're saying is absolutely true.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, you think you're the only one.
Right. But it's important when you're in an experience to feel every single bit of it and not have somebody try to rescue you. Do you think, I think that's so important. I don't know about you, but man, when I had all those experiences, decades ago, there was no one that was going to tell me anything differently because I was pretty much immersed in it. And this is, I got this. I'm good. I'm okay. But in essence, I look back at it and I said, my soul said, I got this. You'll be okay. My human said, these are the experiences we need to have. Maybe?
Absolutely. I think, again, you're spot on. I am from a strong line of French women from French heritage, and they're very tough. My great-grandmother smoked a pipe, raised 5 children after her husband ran off to the gold rush. And so, I was very proud. I wasn't about to let anyone know, what was going on. And it was exactly what you said. I got this.
Yeah.
It was almost like a mantra I moved through my life with, unbeknownst to me.
Yeah. And it's almost, it's so interesting. I'll just share this, Arielle, is that, as a medium, I always see this. And just as you said that, it's like your soul says, we're just going to go through these things to have these experiences, share it later. That's part of your life journey and your path. And then we got this. When the time comes, start helping other women. It's almost as if your soul had known that path all along. In other words, you wouldn't be here today helping women or sharing your stories if you didn't have them. So they were necessary in your process of unfolding, perhaps?
Oh, absolutely. It brings me to my knees and humbles me greatly to realize this now.
Yeah.
That I was able to come to the other side, to come through only by the grace of God.
Yes. And you know what? You share something in your book, too. You said, I don't remember the exact words, but about, we always think of the words, oh, my gosh, this is going to kill me, or I'm going to be dead. I don't know. I can tell you so many times in my lifetime I've used those words, and you've shared them, too, in your book. But is it not that the experience at that moment, the death is the death of the experience at that time, and then you just have a different one, and then you're on the next path. So in other words, it's sort of like you're having all of these multiple cycles in your life, and you have a death of each cycle, but you're still living. You're still here. because of something stronger. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, when you're an alcoholic and then you become healed and you're not drinking anymore, that cycle ended. And then you're on to the next cycle, And
yes.
then you learn about love, or then your next cycle might be you learn about family, or your next cycle might be that, now I'm into another kind of addiction or whatever that might be. So all of our life, if we look back at it, just as you wrote in your book, When Birds Sing, if you look at each and every one of your chapters with the abuse, the PTSD, the sexual abuse, domestic violence, with sexually transmitted diseases, with turnaround and abuse of your own physical self, all of those are chapters in your story. And you played them fully out in the book, and then you move to the next one. Maybe?
Well, I always wanted to be an actress, Dr. Jeanette.
You took up each script and you played the play, right?
I think I did a good job. Very thorough.
Yes, absolutely.
And also including homelessness, too,
yes.
which... I was fortunate enough to own a vehicle, so I got to sleep in the vehicle instead of be on the streets. But
until I got wrecked, right?
That more than once. Pardon?
Yeah. Until you had the wreck. But if you look at it, every single one of your instances had a slamming of the door. God said, "That's enough. We're done with that one." So, like when you were homeless and you had the car, and then you had the car wreck, it was like, "Whoop, we're done with that. You need to find another story," right?
Yeah, I think about, I did this process called Divine Navigation a few years back, and they have different spectrum levels. And I love what you're saying, because it's like I couldn't get out of the first level spectrum. So I was just kind of like in the, tumbling cycle on the first level spectrum.
Yeah.
And couldn't elevate to the next level until it was time, like you say.
Yes. I wrote in the back of the book, I wrote down when you wrote about homeless, I wrote, "We are never alone. Every space has its own people. We just walk through the door alone and find a new tribe on the other side." And isn't that the truth? Because for each one of your instances or your abuses or whatever, or relationships or engagements or being in a certain place and time, you always had to leave that by yourself with nothing to get to the next space and time. Learn to recreate, learn to change, see what it felt like there, and then kept doing that process over and over. Isn't that awesome? But don't you think that's an awesome way to live when you can look back at it? I think
when
story,
one can look back, yes, to see the resilience, the brilliance of it. But at the time, it made me feel like a failure, and completely alone.
But
and that's why writing this book has been so cathartic.
Right.
And getting it out there to people and having the honor of being on your show today.
Because I think that's just a human feeling, and when we realize it, we say, well, I have the human feeling now, and I'm on to something else, and it's okay. In other words, it's okay to feel shame and guilt, but it's also okay to feel good about yourself. Right?
That's been a new concept for me, yes. I wasn't able to see myself, if that makes any sense to you.
Yes.
I was not able to see who I was. I was searching for my identity in others.
Mm-hmm.
Hence all the different players, because I was saying, are you me? Are you me?
Yes.
Are you? And also searching for some type of love that I was missing, which was, I know now, the love of myself.
It's so important what you just said, Arielle. You went around to look at all of these people to say, are you me? I can distinctly remember after I had my first child, I remember my mother would always say, "You're fat, you're fat, you're fat." And I'm going, I really don't feel like I don't get that. Do you know what I mean? I didn't understand it. And there were people that would be like, we went to a parade and someone would walk by and I'd say to her, "Is that what I look like? Is that what I look like? Is that what I look like?" You know what I mean? In other words, I couldn't conceptually get it, you know what I mean?
Because you didn't understand why she was calling you that.
Correct. And because you and I, as we both know now, is that we don't see ourselves as the reflection out there. We see ourselves as a soul and a spirit, and we know that we are whole and good. That's just the outside part of us. You know what I mean? And
yes.
I think it's so super important. You just said something. Hold on, I'm trying to remember what it was. When you said about, is that me? And right in the beginning of your book about wholeness is that there's a greater good. We are all part of the greater good. We are all part of the whole. So what you are searching for is the soul and the spirit in the other person to connect with. And you're looking at it to reflect back with you. It's so interesting when we look at this. You know, I'm almost 70 and I've had many decades of doing this. I've been an open person my whole life. I've been a medium. I see angels and ghosts my whole life. I've always known intuitively, blah, 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 all that stuff. But when I turn around and look at it, what you just said is when you look at other people, you're kind of looking to connect with something within them to say, where's the good? Where's the good? But in essence, I look back at, you were on a mission to find the good in other people and bring it forth. And you didn't even realize that. When in essence, at that time, you thought you were just looking for someone out there to validate you. But in essence, if you look at it, if you're a real soul journey, if you're a real and awakened soul spirit, you know, in this ascension and this evolution where we are today, you were out there doing soul work. You just didn't realize it.
Thank you for that. I think you're speaking about when I came back to my small town of a place, and it was a small town, and I said, I looked around after being gone for decades, and I said, nothing is lost.
Right. Yeah.
I am not lost.
Right.
You know, I was never lost. And I love what you just said. I was possibly searching for deep connection with other souls.
Yes. Yep.
And I was pure and innocent. I was naive, you could say. I didn't, in my soul, understand the danger or the ill intent of others.
But, Arielle, was that not necessary? Because God, when he went out on his paths, right, when Jesus walked and stuff, he didn't always go to just the temple. He went out in the streets to meet the people where the need was.
Yes,
but
he
how
did.
do you... Right. So, in other words, you can't go out to feed the hungry if you're not hungry yourself. You know what I mean? Or you can't go out and tell them how to be able to make bread if you have to go out, if you have not gone out and scavenged for the food also. In other words, we're not talking down, we're not talking out, we're not talking we're going to rescue you and save you. We're saying I'm coming to your level. I'm engaging with you. So it's really
absolutely. I'm saying
yes.
Now is the time I can share this and be, ready to share this. Although, of course, there's always voices that say, why the heck are you doing this?
Right.
Because of what you just said.
Yeah. It's like
that because I tried being a healer earlier in life, and it didn't work.
Right.
Because it wasn't time.
Mhm. Yeah. Absolutely.
I hadn't gathered enough experiences yet. I believe in the divine timing of things.
Right. But also, too, it's not only about us having enough experiences, it's about the other people being in divine timing to be receiving. In other words, we can't always be giving when they need to be able to receive.
Oh.
Do you see? So in other words, we can't always help drug addicts all the time. We have to wait until they come to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and now, we're at a time of that in our country, in the world.
Yeah. You know what's so important that I remember I had a show probably about 10 years ago with an elder woman, and she was telling her stories and stuff, and we were laughing the whole entire show. And I said to her, I said, you know what, honey, I need to come to Miami, and we're going to get a big bunch of elder women. We're going to have all of them in this big place, and we are going to let go of all of that crap that we've been carrying around. Nobody's allowed to bring those big pocketbooks with them with all of their safety things in them. We're just going to come in and we're going to start telling about our experiences.
Oh.
And then I closed my eyes for a second and I said, and then there's going to be another woman who's going to say, oh, I can up you one, honey. Listen to this experience. And another woman says, well, I can up that. Here's my experience, right? But, I mean, it's almost like a poker game. You want to up each other to be able to share your experiences. But what happens is you realize that so many people have been on similar paths, have been in similar places in time, and you were never alone.
Amen. Yes. Yeah. The ego will try to tell you otherwise, but it's a lie.
Yeah. But don't you think that once you start doing that, spilling experiences, you start attracting people who want to know how can they safely share those stories? And that's what your book is truly about. When Birds Sing is you're sharing your stories and you're saying, it's okay, honey, bring your story to me. Did you read all of mine? You know, it's sort of like, I think I got them all covered, but if I didn't, what's yours about? You know what I mean? So in other words, you're offering a safe place to land for many.
Thank you again. That is exactly what I hope to achieve.
Yeah.
A safe place because, if you, like you said, could read all these stories, you're probably going to relate to at least one.
Right.
And you're going to feel like, okay, if she could do that, I can.
Yeah.
And that's why my mantra in the book is never give up. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can put your story out there.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell someone what you're going through because even now, women often don't do that.
Let's talk for a second, Arielle, about the idea of the safety of holding your stories until all of the players have either died, gone away, or are no more invested in your safety or outcome. Because I can tell you how many women have said, I got to wait till so-and-so's dead, or I got to wait till I get rid of this job, you know what I mean, to be able to start to share.
Oh, yes, I totally relate to what you're saying, Dr. Jeanette.
Yes. Yeah, and don't you think that while we understand that is so true, we're still saying you can share it in the comfort of finding someone like yourself as a coach or myself, in sessions, because you can start to open the Pandora's box in a safe place. Isn't
Absolutely.
that true?
Like you said, you do it in the increment that is right for you. It may not be right for some to write a book, but they can get a coach. I'm a life coach also. A therapist. I still do therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And talk there.
Yeah.
Because safety, as I express in the book, is always the primary concern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is this a safe place for me to reveal this?
Right, because I think also, too, is the answer is when you're hanging over the edge, we're not asking you to let go and fall to the ground. We're saying reach up, but find a different hand. Find something different. You know what I mean? In other words, you don't want to be pulled back into the same situation because you're scared. You want to say, I'm going to reach for a different hand that will take me on a different path, through a different door, or perhaps a different thought pattern even. Any little piece that you could find that's different is when you can start to shift. Do you think?
I absolutely do agree with you 100%. It's that I listened to one of your interviews, and you so eloquently told the gentleman, you know, it's like a crack that just cracks slightly, ever so slightly, and the light begins to pour through. Mm-hmm. And I have been staying with that ever since I heard that a few days ago, because that's what happened to me when I started to take another hand.
Yeah.
And that's exactly that's so awesome. What happened. I got on my knees.
Yes.
I looked at my life, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I said, I am not going to let myself go down another notch.
Mm-hmm.
And the light poured through from my Savior.
Yes.
And that allowed me to begin another path.
Right.
That was still a long journey. It's not like presto, everything is healed, but that was the beginning of my healing journey.
You know, I think, Arielle, when that crack happens in your human facade, it can never, ever be patched. It can never, ever be blocked to say, I'm not going to allow that in. Because once you allow that crack happens, I was talking about the human wetsuit. You know, inside our spirit is a ball of glitter. That is just who we are. If we would say and know deep in our heart, deep in our soul, that that's what we are, this human vehicle, this human body, this human wetsuit that we have jumped into when we were born is a vehicle. It is a transportation for our soul. If we can understand that, we will always know that whatever happens, whatever we do, whatever we look like, whatever we experience is an experience only. For the vehicle, we will always know that our soul is good. Our soul is always perfect. And our soul is always eternal. Once you get that, you say, this is just an experience. It isn't going to break me because my soul is the me.
Right, my soul is intact.
Yes, and the vehicle is just having an experience. And once that wetsuit starts to crack and you start to let light in, be it God, be it a therapist, be it the sun outside shining, whatever it is, be it a breath when you feel like you're suffocating, once that crack happens, you can't patch it up. You can't fix it. You have to just sit and bathe yourself in it. And when you do, you start to crave that crack. You seek it out at all costs. So just as you said, it's not a rapid thing. Once you see the light or once you feel something or you know there's something different, you may still have a lot of treachery along the way. You may still have some devastating experiences along the way, but they are getting you there. Your book, When Bird Sings, is a perfect example. You got there. Yes?
Thank you. Yes, that is so, you're just so eloquent in how you describe these experiences, Dr. Jeanette, that you bring tears to my eyes. It did forever change me. And now I am in pursuit of that. In fact, I named myself Light Dances on Water.
That is so awesome. You know, Arielle, I think that when we come to that spot and we feel it, don't you think that everything falls away? It's sort of like, you know, as I've always shared, you know, I said that when you're really struggling, go outside, close your eyes, put your face to the sun, because nothing else matters. If you just do that every day, you can start cracking yourself open to saying there is peace, there's unconditional love for yourself, and there is a sense of safety. And isn't that what we are all seeking?
I believe so. And for me, I was quite encrusted with these experiences. And so it was just several years of peeling that off.
Yeah.
And in doing that through self-love, self-care acts, daily, through seeking the right therapist. I do schema therapy, which has been so helpful in discovering my true self. So it's just a lot of things that go into it for me. Right. Supplementation, because of how eroded my nervous system got through all the, you know, the ups and downs of my life, the stressors. So I put all that into my life daily to reach higher and higher heights of being.
Yeah. It is so awesome, Arielle, that you've shared your story, because just as you say, you know, you had so much encrusted on you. When I shared about the, you know, the human vehicle, the wetsuit, I always say that our experiences are like these badges that get kind of stuck to, and it becomes your identity, you know? And so you really have to pop all of those things off to be able to get rid of your filter in how you see the world, you know? Because if you think about it, if your soul is a ball inside of you and you're trying to see out, to see other people, you're looking through the vehicle with all those experiences stuck to it, so you're seeing the world with those filters. So you can never, ever be free from that until they actually have to get rid of them. So you have to excavate your own essence out from behind the human, right?
Yes, that's what I was describing. Yeah. But again, you say it in a way that is so esoteric, so and at the same time so real, where people can relate to it.
Well, I think what's absolutely wonderful, Arielle, your book, is A Journey from Trauma to Triumph. I say it's I mean, we've really gone full circle, you and I, in our lifetime and our experiences, because that's what life was supposed to be about. In other words, it's not about ascending, you know, straight up. And, you know, do you remember, I'm sure you probably do, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, when you graduated high school, you get a husband, you have kids, you go to school, you get a degree, you do this, this, and this. And that was the way we thought life was. When in actuality, what you and I are exploring in our lifetimes is the web of life, you know. In other words, we're touching, feeling, and shaking everything around us. Isn't that what we were meant to do?
I believe we might have been selected, yes.
Yes. Absolutely, yes. And that's
because my path is not like a lot of other women my age that I know, and for a long time I felt like an outcast because of that. Until, like you said, Dr. Jeanette, that I realized until I accepted it, actually.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it had to do for me with acceptance. Can I accept these experiences as part of my journey, as part of my healing, or am I going to reject them because it wasn't what I was told was going to happen or what I thought would happen?
Yes. Were you not living your life from unconditional love instead of fear? So if we look at it, what you're really talking about is When you accept it, you accept that it was an unconditional love that got you through that. Somewhere, somehow, something, you knew you were going to be okay. But also, too, you said, I'm not going to be in fear of the stories because they have nothing to do. They're just a story. Fear is an emotion. A story is an experience. They're not defining who I am. The I am, it's just a spirit. It doesn't have all of that stuff. So have you not outlined pretty much, and us sharing today our stories, haven't we outlined the process of coming to fruition, of knowing this is awesome and this is who we are? Are we not guiding others to be able to join us in this journey?
Well, I hope the book evokes a spiritual experience for my readers, because that's what I hear you, Dr. Jeanette, talking about, is can we have, and when I look back at all the times my life was saved by a power greater than myself, I weep at the awesomeness of that.
Do you think that we perhaps may miss some of these highlights in our life, those times when we were really helped and saved? But it was, just as you shared before, it wasn't meant to be at that time to be able to know all the almighty or the all-powerful or the all-God or the light or the source, whatever it might be for you. We weren't meant to. We were meant to be just exactly where we were. So everything was A-okay. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was bad. Nothing was, we can't use our judgment on looking at our life. You can just say, it was all awesome, and isn't it just a life? Can't we close with that?
We certainly can.
Do you think, Arielle, that we would like to encourage other women of all ages, if you have something that's really pining in your life, or a story or an experience, sometimes we say, find someone to open up your heart and your soul and let yourself weep or wail or feel scared or afraid and allow those emotions to unroot themselves. Isn't that what our really goal today is to be able to shake people and say, what's really in there? It's sort of like a piggy bank. We want to shake it and be able to open it up and see what's in there. Don't you think?
Absolutely. I've learned that without going deeper, without going inside and excavating, I would not be talking to you today. Right. I had to go in, and I think that's what the message is today, is go within and seek someone that you feel safe and comfortable doing that with, if you would, prefer to have someone with you.
Yes, because, we're still on the human journey, Arielle. We still have to have somebody next to us, behind us, or around us. I think we have to know that we are okay in this human world. Sometimes it gets a little scary and treacherous out there, right?
Yes, it's not me. It's us.
Yeah.
So we can heal each other.
Yeah.
And also just, through going within, Dr. Jeanette, we gather our awareness, and then we see our situation, ourselves with new eyes.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, because there's no more filters there that are stuck, so we have to be able to use the eyes every day.
Right. We, like you said, popped all the buttons off or dug it out or whatever your metaphor is you like to use.
Yeah. Well, it's really awesome to be able to speak with you today, Arielle, because a lot of times people will say, I'm taking these stories with me till my deathbed. And it's sort of like, well, okay, awesome. That's your goal, too. And to understand whatever you are asking or wishing for. I think, Arielle, your book is absolutely wonderful to be able to start someone along the process of saying, what's holding you back? What's stuck in there? What's in your gut? What's making you sick? What's, getting your physical body all riled up? What's making you angry or pushing your buttons or triggering you? So I think your book is absolutely a wonderful way to be able to get started on your emotional journey. And we thank you for sharing that with us.
I thank you for having me today, Dr. Jeanette. This has been just a wonderful experience.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. Arielle, can you share with the listeners how to find out more information about your work? That would be wonderful.
Yes. ariellespring.net is my website.
Very awesome. Well, Arielle, it was such a pleasure to have you with us. We thank you so much for joining us today. And as we share, go with inspiration, and we hope that everybody's able to find some help. So we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Jeanette.
If you'd like to find out more information about Arielle Spring, again, her book is When Birds Sing, My Journey from Trauma to Triumph. Please do click on the link on the bottom of today's show page to go directly to her website for more information. She also has so much there that you'll be able to be inspired by, to be able to find some inspiration, help, and tips. Please do check it out. Anything that can trigger you, can help you along your journey, is always like saying it's a breath of fresh air. And once you feel that breath of fresh air, you really crave going outside. You really crave looking at the sun and the moon. You really want to be able to hear birds sing and to water the flowers. It's about being able to allow something inside of you to heal your inner soul and your spirit from this journey we are on, because we are truly so much more. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher, and until tomorrow, have a great day.
Today we discussed many life-changing concepts. Who do you turn to, and how do you know what is best when faced with a health crisis? Dr. Jeanette is a patient advocate. She listens to the patient, the doctors, and the family, clarifies the health issues and concerns, then helps the patient make the best choices going forward. If you would like help implementing change into your life and health, we can talk and see where you are stuck and how to improve the quality of your life. Check the link on the bottom of today's show page or visit dr-jeanette-gallagher.com to schedule a phone appointment today.